Now, all the RGB LEDs on this case are in sync, as you may notice. And in fact, you have not only the strips that are on the case themselves, but you have the motherboard. You also have elements inside the case, including the new Phanteks water blocks, which also have LEDs that are integrated into them. You can take all those LEDs, feed them back, and via a splitter connect them all up so you can have one plug to go into a motherboard. That way you can control everything in synchronization, or you can use the front panel right up here to control everything via this little flip-up panel. Now, front panel I/O, you actually have two sets because you can potentially install two systems in this chassis. You can do a large full-size ATX, or larger size motherboards also supported up top. You can also do a mini ITX system down in the lower part, and for that you just need to swap in this little tray. It gives you a mini ITX mount. Now, because there's two potential computers inside, you actually have two sets of I/O, so a couple USB 3.0s for each potential system, an HDMI in front, so you're VR ready if you have a VR headset, a USB Type-C connector up there, which is just really handy to have, and then of course mic and headphone for both systems. You also have a reset button, and then you have an LED controller up here too, which is one of the fanciest ones I've actually seen. Not only can you control all the different potential colors that the LED might be via this top section, but then you can tap through this and go through some different effects that you can possibly put together. So if you don't have the ability to control the LEDs via your motherboard or software, you can simply route it up to the case directly and control it all from the front. Now, I already told you about radiator support for the top, front, and bottom, but you can actually, this is a multi-use cross-beam panel here. I already said you can swap in a mini ITX motherboard tray. You can also swap in a radiator right there, so you can fit an additional 480. And then you might notice back behind the reservoir right there, there's a bunch of little panels. Those are all little individual panels like this, and they can be swapped out independently depending on how you want to configure it. You can use them as SSD mounts, and they have one right there, or you can just use it to cover up if you're not actually utilizing that area, just to give it a cleaner look overall. There is another bracket you can swap in there. In fact, I have it right here. And this will allow you to add an additional 360 radiator as well. So obviously you can't install all of those radiators I mentioned at the same time, but it does give you the flexibility if you want to do an insane water-cooled system, as you see right here, to put them wherever the hell you might want to. The other cool thing about those back panels there is on the opposite side, the rear panel, which is actually fairly easy to remove and put back on. They actually designed it so you can just set the panel down on the same level plane that the case is on, and it just sort of lines up and you pop it to the side, and then you can secure it with some captured thumb screws. There's also a removable panel right there that you can pop off to allow for exhaust if you do happen to install a radiator going that way. And that is a pretty cool look because you can put the fans right on there, and if you have LED fans or something like that, well, hey, you could route those up to the system as well and add more RGB LEDs, because Lord knows there's not enough of them.
10
Top panel here also has a swappable piece, so you can have a complete all-in-one unit that kind of covers everything and prevents noise from getting out, but of course blocks air. Or you can use the one they're using right now, which has a magnetic removable dust filter that easily fits over the top for your exhaust. Up on the front there is a power switch that's also dual-sided, so of course two systems, so that power switch needs to go either way. Now you might also notice that the GPUs here are angled 90 degrees, so you can get a better look at the fluid flowing through them, and of course those beautiful Phanteks GPU blocks that they have on there. That can be done via this somewhat elegant panel. But basically it's just a rear PCIe expansion or PCI expansion bracket that you install, and it gives you a riser bracket, and that will allow you to install I believe, two-way SLI configurations or crossfire configurations, and make them look all pretty like that with the 90-degree rotated orientation. Here is the cable management area, and it is fairly dark here, so sorry for that, but hopefully you guys can get a look. Another thing that Phanteks wanted to do with this case is make sure that every bit of space, even though this thing's massive, is used in some way. And if you're not going to use it, you can cover it up and make it look aesthetically pleasing. But they really want everything to be functional. So massive CPU backplate cutout. I like that for wide range of CPU sockets. There's also a panel right here, which I believe is multi-purpose. They've added some additional cable tie-downs in various places so you can keep everything looking nice and clean. There's a fixed pump mount down here at the bottom, so you can put a Phanteks pump as well. I believe it has compatibility with other pumps as well. Okay. But they're shaking their heads like, no, don't use other pumps. Use Phanteks. Use Phanteks pumps. The power... Oh, this isn't a Phanteks pump. It's all right. Don't worry about it. But Phanteks pumps are good too. EVGA power supply. I'm sorry, EVGA. This is a power supply back here at the back. Of course, there's 2 mounts for power supplies here at the rear area. And then we can shove some cables up in here. There's actually plenty of space for that, as you might expect. And then you also have a couple more SSD mounts over on this side. That's what those are, right? Okay, double checking. And then I don't think I mentioned, but there are 2 fan hubs that are also included here. Both the PWM, both can control up to 6 fans. So basically, unless you are doing more than 12 fans in this case, you shouldn't need to add an additional splitter or anything like that. Now, while Fantex was working on the N2 Elite, obviously they had tons of free time, so they decided to develop this prototype case. This is currently known as Project 217. The one we're actually looking right here is the 217S, which is slightly smaller. But the 217, they have actually over there by the TV. It's kind of dark, but we do have some nice footage of it. This is kind of geared towards more being, I don't want to say it's like a home theater PC, but it's meant to integrate seamlessly with a home theater environment. So if you want to take your games out of your man cave or wherever you sit and play video games all the time, bring them out into the living room, possibly set up something like a VR configuration or anything like that, you might want a much more powerful system out in your living room. So the basic concept from our understanding of this design is that you can sort of move it around any way that you want and it will still look good. So only at the back here, they actually have a couple routing holes for the cables to come out. Beyond that, the top here is tempered glass piece. The opposite side is also a tempered glass piece. They have a nice clean finish with gray here across the front. I asked them and they said yes, they're also going to potentially do a black version of this. So if you want it to really mesh with your entire home theater system and you have all black, which is very common with that sort of thing, it will. Now these are both mini ITX cases. The larger size over there in the 217 is going to support larger radiators. I believe a 280 radiator it will support. So they are geared towards water cooling, so you can make a really cool looking system, water cool it, overclock it, make it whatever you want to do, and put it in your living room and have a really cool showpiece. But I mean, not just your living room. I can imagine lots of people having this on their desk, for example. And the fact that you can take the whole thing and make it vertically oriented instead of horizontally oriented means you get a much smaller footprint, like on your desk, with a really cool looking case. Now, there's not a whole lot of other details about this right now. They have shown us some of the design aesthetics that they have done as far as like taking the mini ITX motherboard, putting it at the top. They have sort of a horizontal bar here right across just below where the ITX motherboard sits. That's where you're going to route your cables, pass them through to some channels that are going to go back here, which are pretty much completely covered up and you can't see them. They have a couple SSD mounts that are also hidden on either side of this. And that's for the most part what we know. There are some more details, but I'm sure this is going to be forthcoming. They're expecting this to come out right around Computex time this year, so maybe if we go to Computex in Taiwan, we'll be able to show you guys, just like the N2 Elite, the finished version of Project 217 and 217S as well. So let us know in the comments what you think of these new concept cases. Let us know how many of the N2 Elites you're going to buy. Kyle's recommendation was 5. I think that's one too many. I think you should buy 4 N2 Elites at minimum. Now, I can't leave you guys without at least pointing out and giving some homage to the 8-pack version of the N2 Elite that's back behind me. Now, he actually built this in one of the earlier prototypes of the N2 Elite, and we showed that off at Computex. And it's a ridiculous system. It's got a 3-way SLI configuration. It's got 3 separate water cooling loops. It's got a ton of like custom acrylic work with channels for all of the fluid to go through, and he's using Mayhem's, I forget which one, the Mayhem's one that has that texture to it, so it looks really cool. And you can actually order these and have them made and sent to you for the low price of what, 32,000 US dollars. So if $900 for the, or you can spend just the low price of $900, which seems very reasonable by comparison, and build your own. But I mean, honestly, what 8-pack did with this thing behind me is absolutely insane. So hope you guys appreciate that as well. Finally, how are they going to ship these? Big old N2 Elite cases that look like you could fit a human body inside, or perhaps just maybe more sensibly used as a footlocker after you remove the case out of it. But very premium in every respect, and I really like what N2 has done with, what Fantex has done with the N2 Elites. Anyway, it's the end of the day at Computex, so we're getting pretty tired. I'm going to end this video and ask you guys to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Also, a big thank you to my sponsors. Once again, Gigabyte, Deepcool, as well as OCZ, a Toshiba company. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you very soon with more CES 2017 coverage from Las Vegas, Nevada.
That it's basically Jace and Stoneforge and Stoneblade. It's called that.
Yeah,
Why not?
and Treasure Cruise and Take
Yeah,
Time.
sure.
I'm playing
all that
Birthing
blue
Pod.
stuff.
I'm playing Birthing Pod.
Yeah.
So.
You're playing like a value pod list
Yeah.
more so than the pod combo.
Yeah, you got Pod, you got Green Sun Zenith, and you got Deathray Shaman from Balanced.
Yeah. And here we of course have Chubby Mr. Boopster. Best ever. the Wonder Team. So anyway, Society goes first. I think what I'm gonna do is I got this little pink dice here. And I think we're just gonna do a little chubby belly bounce.
A belly ounce?
A little belly bounce roll. So that's a 3 for me. And that went right off the table.
And it's a 2.
And it's a 2. So I will go first, and we'll see you in game 1. All right, game 1. Here is my hand. And your turn.
And
All right. So I'm gonna lead with a Celestial Colonnade. Pass the turn.
nothing too exciting.
Nope, just some Colonnade.
Colonnade. I'm gonna lead with a Razor Verge Thicket.
Mm-hmm.
And try for Green Sun Zenith on Zero.
You got it.
That's gonna find us. Dryad Arbor.
Yep.
And you gotta shuffle your library. And you gotta shuffle Green Sun Zenith. Enter go.
Untap. Draw a card. Alright. Alright. Well, I'm gonna do a very exciting tapped Hallowed Fountain and pass the turn.
Draw for turn. We're gonna go for an untapped Woodland Cemetery because we got a forest here.
Yep. That you fetched up with a Green Sun Zenith.
And Blade Splicer.
Sure. That poops out a Foosty.
Enter go.
Untap. Draw a card. Well, not sure I need that many of those. We'll play an untapped Hallowed Fountain, going 18. And here's a Monastery Mentor. And I'll pass the turn.
He does all kinds of work.
If he survives, yes.
Draw for turn. Well, let's start by attacking you for 3.
Gonna take that 3, going to 15.
And paying 2 life. Go for a Birthing Pod.
Nope.
Gavany Township.
Mm-hmm.
2 more life. Sacking Blade Splicer. And that'll get us a Siege Rhino. Draining you for 3.
Go to 12.
Go back up to 19. Enter go.
Untap.
He does survive. That's the set.
Draw a card. Wow, I definitely didn't need another one of those.
So when you go like ponder, preordain.
just win the game. Well, before you finish shuffling, I'm actually gonna Path to Exile Siege Rhino, pumping and getting a monk.
We'll find a forest.
Pumpin' monk, as the kids are calling it on the streets. Yeah, and I'll beat for 3,
Beat for 3. Go to 16.
and I'll pass the turn.
Untap. Draw for turn. Let's go for Wooded Foothills. And a Voice of Resurgence.
Yep. That is definitely a good one to pot away.
And well, we'll start by attacking for 3.
Take 3. Going to 9.
And Pod Voice.
Yep.
Getting an Elemental Boosty.
Who is a 3/3. It's worth noting.
Well, 2/2.
Dryad Arbor.
Right, 3/3. And what 3-drop do we want? This is so many choices.
Always something a person likes to hear.
Don't need him yet, so let's go for a kitchen fix.
Yep.
18.
Re-climbing that ladder.
And a Jurgo.
Untap. Dry card. That would have been nice a while ago. Okay. Let's see here. Still a pretty big boy.
Destroyed.
Got Mr. 4/4.
Yeah. Snapcaster, targeting path. Path of Inks. Pumps, token.
Away with the Finks! I'm gonna also crack my little foot hands. Same time. Save
Okay.
on searching.
Sure.
So that'll find an overgrown tomb. And I'll also find a basic forest.
So. It is still a 3/3,
Double kill. Triple
which is
kill.
unfortunate. So, I think I'm just gonna pass the turn.
Untap. Drop turn.
Administrator unresponsive. Initializing respawn.
Birds of Paradise.
Misstep. Go to 7. Get a boosty. Pump, pump, pump.
Ooh. I think we're gonna pot away our Dryad Arbor.
Sure.
Well, tap that for green first. And for our 1-drop, we will find Blister Pod.
Okay.
And we have green floating from the Dryad Arbor.
Uh-huh.
Woodfoot lands crack.
Foothills.
Foothills.
You're never gonna get that right.
Nah. Don't need to. Three plus that for another birthing pod.
Okay.
2 life. Pop Blister Pod.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any Scion tokens, but we do have Spawn tokens.
More or less the same thing.
Basically.